Welcome to another episode of The Dissection. Jabulani Kumalo is back. He's back and he's complaining about Jacob Zuma. He's complaining about Dudu Zuma. And he's back on the scene because he has opened a case of fraud against Jacob Zuma. Another case of fraud. There was a different case that he opened earlier, but this time he's opened another case of fraud because he says that his name has been fraudulently removed as a director of the MK party at the Companies and Intellectual Property Commission. He also, in this same moment, has commented on Floyd Shivambu's joining of the MK party, and he says that that move is not a real membership. I have some questions before I show you some of the highlights of an interview that he just did. I have some questions. Number one, who is funding this man? Who has a motive to fund this man at this particular point? Let's evaluate where he stands in the political dynamic of South Africa in 2024 post the election. He is not a member of parliament. He is not a party leader, and he is not contesting for anything. Yet he appears to have a copious amount of financing for his endeavors, which seem at this point to be what they would call chasing windmills. Quixotic is the term that would be used, right? So let's evaluate. He has a Land Cruiser that he got just before elections. That's a very expensive car. Some people have told me that it goes well over 1 million rand. I don't know the price. What's the price of a Land Cruiser, right? A Toyota Land Cruiser. He's got a black Toyota Land Cruiser, brand new, 2024 edition. He's got a Mercedes-Benz truck. How much is that going for, those of you who are familiar with car prices? These are very expensive automobiles. He has security guards. How can he afford to have not one expensive truck, but two expensive trucks, bodyguards? He has got advocates. He's got attorneys. Legal fees are some of the most prohibitive costs in South Africa. Many people cannot afford to go and get attorneys and have all of this litigation left, right, and center. Where is he getting the funding? It does appear at this particular point that he is well funded. Also, at this particular point, he is speaking to Biz News in high definition. High definition, he's got some very, very fancy camera equipment that he's using. I mean, he's either using professional camera equipment with lighting, or he's using a state-of-the-art, top-range MacBook Pro M3 chip or something to that effect. And then the question is, where did you get these devices from? From all the indications I've gotten and seemingly the discourse around him is that this is a man who was of modest means. And all of a sudden, within the space of 365 days, he is able to live a very lavish lifestyle, big cars, bodyguards, all of these things. Typically, when you emerge with all of this money, a flush, then questions have to be asked about, why are you so flush with money all of a sudden? Who are you working for? I mean, the fact that also he's speaking to Biz News is something that is worth scrutinizing in and of itself. Biz News is a pro-Democratic Alliance platform. It's a pro-DA and ANC coalition platform. They host conferences in the Western Cape, and these conferences are attended by billionaires such as Rob Hersov. They don't have an alignment of interests between the MK and himself, right? I mean, if you think about it, a lot of the people on the Biz News conference platforms, etc., are opponents of the MK. They seem to be funded by the same people who fund the Democratic Alliance, this Biz News platform, or they have a patronage, which is predominantly of people who follow the same right-wing neoliberal school of thought as the MK. As the Democratic Alliance. So why would an MK leader go to an anti-MK platform to speak to MK party supporters and make his case to them? That doesn't make any sense. This interview that he just did does not make any sense to me in terms of strategy for getting any recourse with the audience that he most wants, which is MK people. He still wants people to know that he founded the party. Just listen to this part.
I'll try to be short. We we then registered. We started the process, but then he said to us, let us wait, because if we start the process of registering a name that is not popular, we're going to have a problem. He said to us, he's going to suggest names for us, but we must never say that we took those advices from him, because he doesn't want to be involved, because he's still a member of the ANC and he doesn't want to have troubles. We did that. We had that meeting. Then that's when he suggested to us that instead of using Umazbuye, let's use Umkhonto Wesizwe. We had a number of questions, and he said, no, don't worry about those ones. ANC ditched the Umkhonto Wesizwe name, so no one can fight over that name. We did that, then we took it, we registered. Zuma had nothing to do with that, and he didn't even put a cent. He was staying in Nkandla, and he was a chairperson of the SANCO, and he was happy with SANCO, he was happy with the ANC. So I registered, and then after registration, we went to him and told him, now we have registered. This is the name. He just wanted to say, oh, okay, fine. But he had no interest.
Let's be very honest, and I think it's important for someone to tell Jabulani Kumalo this, right? Let's be very honest. Jacob Zuma had an interest in the MK party, and he had a long-term plan. Number one, either Jabulani Kumalo did not understand what was happening, right, speaking to his political strategy, or he overestimates his role in the formation and success of this political party. Let's think about the elements, and my second point around this is, number two, that Jacob Zuma suggested the name. He suggested the name. He said, no, that name that you guys are coming up with is not going to really have value. He suggested the name. Number three, Zuma gave him multiple meetings, right? Khumalo and his other 6 guys. He gave them multiple meetings in Nkandla. Zuma is not just anybody. He's not like a township pastor in a tent. He's a former president. You have to go through metal detectors and scanners to meet him. Even if you are meeting him at his home is not just, it's not, why not tavern in the CBD of Joburg? It's a serious residence. So why did he think that a former president would just meet a guy wanting to start a political party to contest his own historic political party without wanting to play a key role? That's not a logical conclusion to reach. Zuma maybe would have met a few people, and he did meet a few people once when the whole tea thing was happening. People were going to drink tea at his house, pay respects, etc., etc. He enjoyed the attention. He enjoyed knowing that he was still relevant. But why would he give multiple meetings to one person unless he was interested in that? And in and of itself, if you go and you pitch something to Jacob Zuma and then he gives you another meeting, he is actually saying that, yeah, let's go along with this project. I'm interested. That's why you get a second meeting. Right? Number 4, Zuma is the reason why the party got media attention. Zuma is the reason why the party got votes. Nobody knew who Jabulani Kumalo was, and they would have no reason whatsoever to vote for him then and now. He is still not a person with enough political clout to pull together a political movement of various people in 3, 4, 5 different provinces in volume. There are many parties which contested in the elections and they didn't get any votes. The 2.5 million votes are not because of Khumalo or anything him and his 6 friends did. They are because of Zuma. And he knew that. That's why he went to Nkandla. He wanted Zuma on board because he knew what the power was of the Zuma brand. So now why all of a sudden is he trying to act as if Zuma had some kind of just like advisory role exclusively, and that was it? Even the fact that he agreed that Zuma is going to be the face by his own version. Why did you want Zuma to be the face if you didn't appreciate what the Zuma brand was going to do to bring you all of those ANC disgruntled voters to your side? Then he speaks about Dudu Zuma, and I want to make a 5th point here. Leaders like Zuma and Trump place a high premium on family. They will place family members who they view as loyal and strategic in positions of influence and power in their organizations. And to a degree, it makes sense, because who is more loyal than blood? who is more reliable than blood, who has more skin in the game than a family member, right? So it seems as if Zuma put his trust in Dudu Zuma to deal with the day-to-day affairs of his interest in this particular organization. Obviously, we all know that Zuma is not a young man anymore. He's not going to be able to do everything that he was able to do in the same way. So he's going to deploy particular people to make sure, who have energy and an interest, to make sure that they can take care of his personal stake. He trusts Dudu. Khumalo spends a lot of time complaining about Dudu Zuma, and this to me also shows that he did not understand her role or importance. I actually think a lot of people underestimate her because she's an attractive woman, she's got hips and all kinds of, attractive things that distract them. Think about it. Think about it. Do you really know Dudu Zuma's political talents, or are you just being dismissive of her because she's Zuma's daughter? She's the one, when I look at this, who seems to have a real political understanding of her father's political process and his way of thinking. Girls often study much harder than boys and pay more attention to the teachings of their parents. So sometimes you may be looking at the boy to think, no, the person who's going to do thing is Dudu Zuma. Dudu Zuma is the one who's going to be able to deliver. Dudu Zuma is the one with the twang, etc., etc. But it seems as if right now, Dudu Zuma is the one who is the chess pupil of her father. That's what it seems. Considering that Dudu has been learning from her dad all her life, it seems to me that Khumalo underestimated her strength and influence, and he overestimated his own. I mean, think about it. This thing of hips, lips, and fingertips, it can distract people. It can make you underestimate strong players, right? I think we all need to reflect on whether we truly understand the political acumen of this woman. She's not a teenager. She's young looking, etc. You forget that she's in her 40s. She's not a teenager. She's somebody who has been paying attention to the political machinations of South Africa from the front row for a very long period of time, with the commentary, advice, and tutelage of one of the strongest players in the political South African atmosphere for a long period of time. Is that somebody that you would really underestimate and undervalue? I wouldn't. I actually would take her very seriously because I would not discredit that. Even Dudu Zuma right now, I don't think he's been making good or wise political moves, and I don't think he seems to be part of this MK project. But still, I wouldn't go at him as a political rival with disregard and disdain, because I have to keep in mind that this is someone who has been learning at the foot of one of the most influential South African politicians. To be honest, I don't understand why Vele he has been doing all of that stuff that he has been doing. I don't get it. But it could very well be because boys sometimes are lazy. They don't do the work that is required. They don't have an appetite. Dudu seems to me to have an appetite for street politics. She seems to me to be willing to be a brawler. There are people who are street smart and there are people who are book smart. And you need a mix of these things to succeed in life. It seems to me that Dudu has street smart. It seems to me that she understands human nature. She understands the political game. She understands social media. She understands a lot of elements which are important to doing well in politics. So I don't understand why this guy does not appreciate at the end of the day that this is Zuma's blood. This is somebody that Zuma has put in this place. This is somebody who is always at his side. She's always at his side. You don't go into the Republican Party at this point and attack Melania Trump, or you attack any of the sons of Trump, or even Ivanka, or anybody like that. That would not be strategic. It really wouldn't. And to me, it seems as if Dudu is occupying almost an Ivanka role at an earlier stage in the first presidential campaign that Trump did. Because now I think she's not participating as much. But that's something that I think he's just made a mistake about. And also, he is now flat out attacking Zuma himself. And I think this is another mistake on his part. Just listen to this.
This is the craziness of Jacob Zuma. He doesn't think. He just do things as he wishes. Because people say, Baba, that is a very big problem that we have in Mkondo Wesizwe, because Mkondo Wesizwe is not going forward because people will tell you, Baba is sleeping, Baba is tired, Baba is this. And we've missed all the things that the South African voters, they voted Mkondo Wesizwe to lead in KZN, but we are not leading in KZN today because Zuma was sleeping when the other parties were working towards getting the parliamentarians to work. In KZN, we should be leading, we should be having a premier. We're not having a premier. We are I don't know what is it called now. In the national, we're supposed to be part of the government in whatever way, because the people voted to say, go to parliament and deal with our issues. People did not say, go to parliament and make mockery of us. What you see now is mockery. People that are in there, they will tell you, Ubaba, it's not right. So people who are parliamentarians that have been sent out are the very people that made the MK to be in parliament.
Listen, there are some people who have no consequences when they attack Jacob Zuma or say whatever. But if you are within the MK party or trying to get the MK party back or trying to appeal to that voter base, which Jabulani Kumalo is, you can't say these kind of things. You can't call Jacob Zuma crazy. You can't say he was sleeping and still want to lead the MK party or want to have support from his constituency or even want to be a director. What do you want to direct? That's like Lucifer trying to direct the armies of the Lord while insulting Jesus. How? Help me understand. What Khumalo is doing, he wants, it's like if Judas took the 30 pieces of silver, right? Then he comes and complains why Peter is not including him in the Pentecostal missions, assuming that he had not committed suicide. Imagine Judas there going to Peter and Paul and all of these other guys and saying to them, listen guys, I also want to go and evangelize to the people in Galatians, etc., etc. What? Maybe you're not a Christian, maybe you don't get the metaphor and the reference, but what would it be like? What would it be like? It would be like Noah Lyles trying to say that he wants to coach Botswana sprinting. You can't do that. Anyway, so he calls Zuma crazy. He says Zuma was sleeping. You can't do that. The party exists because of Jacob Zuma, and its membership supports Jacob Zuma. Even when you went to court and lost electoral court, the people went and listened to Zuma, not you. You had to drive off because the fans approached you and you dashed. You dashed. Also, this is very important. In African culture, you can't just come ukhulumele eceleni ngaleli ndlela ekhulunywa ngayo uJabulani Khumalo, which is to say, you can't just come and talk sideways at the side of your mouth. At a senior, in Zulu, you can't even say an elder unamanga or is lying. You can't say that. You have to say umuntu omdala uyaphosisa. You can't just say umuntu omdala unamanga. That's a serious hiding. Now imagine you're saying umuntu omdala uyahlanya, umuntu omdala ulele. What? You can't say that an elder is sleeping on the job or is crazy. Now, in politics, we're all equals, right? If you are an MP, a politician, all of the MPs and everyone is equal, right? In South Africa, everyone is equal. That's a constitutional situation. But not in Zulu custom. You can't do that. Now, why does this matter? Why is it relevant? MK enjoys a lot of support in Zulu-speaking areas in South Africa. KwaZulu-Natal, Mpumalanga, you know it, Gauteng, where there are a lot of Zulu speakers as well. It's part of who they are, right? I'm not saying that it's an ethnic party. I don't think that analysis is correct because they did get lots of support in other parts of the country as well. And I think many people who supported Zuma in the ANC, even in Limpopo, etc., would have voted for MK as well. So it's not necessarily an ethnic party. I think that is inaccurate. But when you have a lot of Zulu people in the party, you have to be sensitive to Zulu customs, traditions, and norms. You can't just go around doing things which are... You have to be mindful of that. It's just like if you go to the taxi rank, there are certain things that you can't do in a taxi rank because there are a lot of Zulu guys there. They're not all Zulu. Some of them just speak Zulu, but they're not all Zulu. But still, there's certain things that you can't do a rank, boy. You can't do certain things. A rank, it's known. So this thing that he's doing here, no, I don't think that it's going to work for him. You can do this as a member of the DA, a member of another political party, etc. But if you want to lead MK, if you want to be accepted by MK voters, how can you go and say that somebody who is so senior, so significant to the organization is the manner that you... Unless you've totally abandoned it and now you're doing something else. Let's address his points. He says that MK would have a premier in KwaZulu-Natal if Zuma was awake. He says that they would be part of the GNU if Zuma was awake. But I don't think these things are true. And I don't think they're true even if he had been in charge. I think that the ANC was never willing to make a deal with the MK. I think a lot of things that were said were merely excuses. I don't even think that he would have been able to pull it off unless he had sold out. He may have been able to pull it off unless he sold out, got rid of Zuma, and then reabsorbed MK into the ANC. That's the only way that he would have done it. The reality is that ANC wanted nothing to do with MK. They were never going to do a deal with MK. It was always part of the plan that they were going to do a deal with the IFP, with the DA. That was so obvious from the jump. Even the markets were very clear that they wanted nothing to do with the MK. The very same Biz News where he did the interview that he did now has had expressions which were anti-MK involvement, anti-EFF involvement, anti all of these things that they call the far left, etc. Even the Alec Hawk, the chief guy there at Biz News, expressed a lot of these views. You can go watch the interviews. Very opposed to the idea of MK being part of the GNU or the coalition, which is what I prefer to call it, because it's not really a GNU. Story of another day. So, look, I think he's not correct about that. But I think at an emotional level, I understand. Jabulani Kumalo is very hurt and angry because it's almost, you know, if you are in a Shabin, let's say you're in a Shabin or you are somewhere with slave queens or whatever, you're buying the slave queens drinks, etc. You're dancing, they're dancing with you, Mihlali is going with you. And then Chiki Mihlali lives with Leroy or somebody, I don't know, maybe Faith Nketsi. She lives with whoever she lives with. You're going to be angry, man, because you're going to be like, but I thought that was my girl. You're going to be frustrated. But this is not even the same as that. This guy was within. He was within. He was really within. I think he is very angry. He's hurt. He could be right now giving speeches in parliament. He could be on Newsroom Africa every day, on SAPC every day, talking, about a variety of things. He could be a main actor. Now, he's not a starring. He's not a featuring. He is a has-been in something that he could have really been an anchor. I think it's his own doing. He miscalculated. You could be married to Mihlali right now, my guy. You could be, all of the juices could be yours. But now, you are not getting 75 missed calls because she's not yours. You could have had a strong political career. He could have really had a strong political career. He could have been a household name. He could have really been one of the surprise, outcomes of this election because we'll be talking about him. But he switched sides on his own party. He switched sides on his own party. How is that strategic? How is that prudent? You go to Nkandla all of these times, you gently convince, Ubaba to get involved in this thing. Actually, the Mihlali example is not the right example. This is like how Will Smith fumbled Margot Robbie. No, Margot Robbie. You know that scene there where Margot Robbie is like, aren't you married? She's talking to that guy, Leonardo DiCaprio. He's like, no, I'm married, but who said that I can't have friends? And then she says, are we going to be friends? Then she says, we're not going to be friends. Margot Robbie. What? You know what I'm talking about. Now, Will Smith had an opportunity. He had an opportunity. Will Smith. One day I'll make a video about Will Smith and my perceptions on some of the decisions he's made. But I, like every other man, if I could just give him one Plixem, just one, ish, Indavalega Margot Robbie, hey, Will Smith, why did you do that thing? Why did you fumble? Why? Anyway, this is what I think Jabulani Kumalo did. He had a Margot Robbie, and then it's gone. Now Floyd is going there. You are somewhere complaining about Floyd. This was your thing. Anyway, I've got to end it here. One thing I want to know. You started off having meetings in Kandla farm. Are you having meetings on another farm? You know, there's a farm with lots of cash, lots of US dollars. You know, one could really buy a lot of cars with that money from that farm. You could buy a Mercedes, you could buy a Land Cruiser, you could afford bodyguards, you could afford attorneys, you could afford a lot of these things, end up being on Biz News, you know, in 4K. I don't know, guys. What do you think about everything Jabulani Kumalo is doing? Why does he even want to be a director of MK? You're not... They kicked you out of the party. Why you from director something that you're not part of? Let's have a conversation in the comments. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It helps people find the channel. It helps YouTube know that you love the content. Till the next one.